Ladies and gentlemen, there is a strange clarity that comes when we realize how little time we truly have. For decades, we tell ourselves that the next breakthrough, the next discovery, the next sunrise will always arrive. And yet, beneath all the noise of ambition and the ceaseless hum of progress, the mind whispers a truth that can no longer be ignored. Every journey has an end. Tonight, I stand before you not as a figure of technology or innovation, but as a human being who has walked the full circle of curiosity, risk, triumph, and failure. The arc of a life is not defined solely by the things we build, but by the questions we dare to ask. Questions that pierce through the illusion of permanence. What does it mean to live well? What does it mean to say goodbye with grace, not regret? When I first began my path in science and exploration, I believed that the highest calling of the mind was to conquer the unknown, and in many ways that belief served me. I chased distant horizons, neural networks that could rival human thought, rockets that could cross the silent void, energy systems that could outlast the sun. Yet the deeper I went, the more I understood that the frontiers that matter most are not there, but within us. Consider the human brain, 3 pounds of delicate tissue firing with more electrical activity than all the power grids of Earth combined. Within that shimmering lattice of neurons lies every memory you have ever cherished, every face you have ever loved, every idea that has ever changed the world. Modern neuroscience shows us that even as we age, even as cells falter, the brain retains a remarkable capacity to rewire itself. It is plastic, resilient, alive with potential. And yet it, too, has limits. No matter how advanced our science becomes, no matter how many neural interfaces or regenerative therapies we invent, there comes a moment when the signals slow, when the synapses dim. I have watched great minds wrestle with this truth. I remember sitting late at night in a quiet hospital room with a colleague who had dedicated his life to mapping the human cortex. He whispered to me, as the monitors hummed softly, that the hardest part was not the end itself, but the letting go of unfinished questions. There will always be more data, he said, always another pattern to decode. And then he smiled, a gentle, knowing smile, and said, "But that's okay. Someone else will continue." That conversation has stayed with me for years. It reshaped the way I see legacy. We imagine legacy as monuments or inventions, but it is really a hand extended to those who come next. Every discovery is a message left in a bottle, drifting forward in time for another curious soul to find. The atoms of our bodies will scatter back into the cosmos, but the ideas we nurture can echo for centuries. As a neuroscientist, I am compelled by the exquisite symmetry of life and death. The very molecules that animate us were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. We are, quite literally, the universe becoming conscious of itself, and when our brief window of awareness closes, those same elements return to the great unfolding. From a purely scientific lens, that is not loss, it is transformation. Still, I will not pretend the human heart finds this easy. To say goodbye is to feel the full weight of love. It is to stand at the edge of what words can hold and realize that language was always a fragile bridge. But it is also to recognize the brilliance of every moment we were given. The laughter of a friend, the scent of rain on warm concrete, the quiet satisfaction of solving a problem that once felt impossible. These are the small infinities that no ending can erase. As I speak to you now, I feel the convergence of two forces, the relentless advance of knowledge and the timeless depth of human connection. One calls us to look outward, to chart the stars, to decode the genome, to harness the mind. The other calls us inward, to forgive, to remember, to love without reservation. The beauty of a life well lived is found in the balance between the two. Tonight I offer not a farewell to progress, but a celebration of it. We have built extraordinary tools. We have extended lifespans, expanded consciousness, and dared to imagine a future brighter than any past. Yet the ultimate measure of our work is not the machines we leave behind, but the compassion we cultivate in the process. If I have learned anything, it is that the most profound discoveries are not equations on a whiteboard or algorithms in a data set. They are the quiet realizations that ripple through a crowded mind when the noise finally falls silent. That the universe is vast and we are small, and that this smallness makes us precious. That every life, no matter how brief, carries a resonance that outlives the body. So I say this not in sorrow, but in gratitude. Gratitude for the teachers who sparked my curiosity, for the colleagues who challenged my certainty, for the friends and family whose love anchored me when ambition threatened to consume everything else. Gratitude for the chance to have stood in the glow of discovery, to have witnessed the unfolding of a universe that continues to astonish. As I prepare to step away, I invite you to remember one thing: the frontier is not closing. It never will. The frontier lives wherever a question is asked with courage. It lives in every child who looks up at the night sky and wonders. It lives in every mind that dares to imagine a better way. My time on this stage may be ending, but yours is only beginning. Carry forward the questions. Nurture the spark of wonder. Let the future find you fearless. And when the moment comes for each of us to say our own goodbye, may we do so knowing that we've given everything we could to the great experiment of being alive. Thank you. And as you continue your own journeys, remember that endings are never as sharp as they appear from a distance. They are gradients, soft dissolves where memory, influence, and the quiet persistence of what we've shared keep echoing long after the final word. Think of how a star dies from across the cosmos. Its light travels on for ages, crossing dark oceans of space, even after the core has gone still. Each of us carries that same celestial signature. The energy of a life, once released, does not vanish. It diffuses, it inspires, it lingers in the thoughts and actions of those we've touched. I often return to a childhood memory that taught me this truth long before I could name it. I was 10, lying in a field far from city lights, staring at a sky so dense with stars it felt like the universe was leaning close to listen. My grandmother, a woman who had endured more loss than I could then fathom, lay beside me. She whispered that those stars were not simply distant fires, but reminders that everything and everyone shines beyond the moment we see them. Decades later, as science gave me the vocabulary of astrophysics and quantum mechanics, I realized how right she was. The photons we catch in our eyes tonight began their journey before humans learned to speak. Presence outlives presence. From a neuroscientific perspective, farewell is not a single point in time, but a dynamic process. Our neural circuits for attachment and memory ensure that the bonds we form remain active long after a final meeting. The brain keeps running its own simulations, replaying voices, faces, gestures. In that sense, goodbye is not an erasure, but a reorganization. The people we love are woven into our predictive models of the world. Even in absence, they help us navigate. This is not mere sentiment. Functional MRI studies show that recalling someone dear activates many of the same networks as being with them. What we hold dear is, in a very real way, still with us. I share this because it is easy, especially when facing the unknown, to believe that separation means loss. But the deeper I have gone into both science and life, the clearer it has become love is not a finite resource. It is an expanding field, one that stretches well beyond the limits of a single lifetime. The more we give, the more it radiates outward, touching lives we may never know. To those of you who are just beginning your work, whether in laboratories, classrooms, or quiet corners of creativity, let this understanding guide you. Pursue the hard problems with courage, yes, but let empathy be the constant. Let wonder stay unguarded. The most enduring breakthroughs often come not from raw intellect, but from the patience to listen, to data, to colleagues, to the soft signals of our own intuition. I have stood beside particle accelerators, humming with unimaginable energy, and watched neurons fire across living tissue like constellations. I have also sat in silence with a grieving friend, and in that moment, the vast machinery of the universe felt no more sacred than the warmth of a hand on a shoulder. The scale differs, but the awe is the same. We are explorers of both the infinite and the intimate. So as I step back from this stage, I do so with the quiet certainty that the story continues in you. Each experiment you conduct, each question you refuse to leave unanswered, each act of kindness you choose, that is the continuation. You are the next line in a conversation older than civilization, a dialogue between curiosity and courage that will outlast every one of us. If you remember anything from these words, let it be this: wonder is renewable, courage is contagious, and meaning is something we build together, moment by moment, choice by choice. I leave with no regrets, only the profound privilege of having been a part of this grand human endeavor. May your days be bold, your nights full of stars, and your hearts unafraid of the beautiful, inevitable goodbyes that make every hello worth living. Thank you, and may your own light travel far beyond the reach of time. And as the final moments of this gathering settle into quiet, I find myself reflecting on what it means to entrust the future to others. Progress has never been a straight path. It bends, doubles back, leaps forward unexpectedly. But its momentum depends on the countless decisions made by people who may never meet each other. Scientists publishing open data, teachers nurturing questions in young minds, families sharing stories that hold a culture together. This is how knowledge survives. It is how compassion survives. Not through one single achievement, but through the unbroken chain of human connection. When one voice fades, another picks up the melody. When one pair of hands grows still, another begins the work. The continuity is not just comforting, it is the essence of how our species endures. I am reminded of a study on long-lived coral reefs, ecosystems that persist for millennia. Individual polyps live only a few years, but by continuously building on the skeletons of their predecessors, the reef itself becomes an ancient monument, alive, evolving, and resilient. We are much the same. Each of us is a brief spark, yet together we create structures of understanding and care that can last far beyond a single lifetime. So if you ever doubt the value of your efforts, remember that your influence may never be fully visible to you. A kind word might inspire someone to pursue a calling. A late night insight might open a door decades later for a researcher you will never meet. Your impact is not measured only by recognition, but by the quiet ripples you set in motion. As I prepare to walk away from this stage, I do so with profound trust in that unseen network of possibility. You are its stewards now. Protect it. Challenge it. Let it surprise you. Carry forward the questions that refuse to be silenced. And let your curiosity be as fearless as your compassion. May you find meaning, not just in the grand discoveries, but in the small, steady moments that build a life, a shared meal, a sudden laugh, the simple act of listening when someone needs to be heard. These are the truths that endure when the headlines fade and the instruments fall quiet. Thank you for letting me share this time with you. Thank you for reminding me, once again, that while a single journey ends, the greater expedition continues without pause. Wherever you go from here, may your own path be illuminated by wonder, and may you always know that the universe is brighter because you are part of it. And now, as the lights dim and this chapter truly draws to a close, I invite you to hold one more image with me. Imagine a quiet shoreline just before dawn. The tide moves in slow rhythm, a heartbeat older than memory itself. Every wave that reaches the sand leaves a trace, but no single wave defines the ocean. We too are like those waves, brief, luminous, shaping the world in subtle ways before returning to the vastness from which we came. What remains when an individual wave recedes is not absence but pattern, the gentle curves in the sand, the minerals left behind that nourish life, the resonance of motion that never truly stops. In this way, each life, each conversation, each discovery etches something enduring, You may not see the full design now, but step back far enough, across decades or centuries, and you will find the grand mosaic of human striving and wonder. So when you face your own moments of parting, remember that you are not stepping into darkness. You are simply becoming part of the wider tide, carried into places where your influence flows beyond sight. The friendships you've nurtured, the knowledge you've shared, the compassion you've shown, these will continue their quiet journey, shaping futures you cannot yet imagine. Let this understanding free you from fear. Let it remind you that every goodbye, however final it may seem, is also a beginning written in a different script. And let it call you, always, to live fully now, to give your curiosity, your love, and your courage without hesitation. I leave you with gratitude deeper than words can hold, and a faith in what you will create that is as boundless as the universe itself. May you walk forward knowing that the story does not end here, and that the light we kindle together will travel on, brighter, farther, endlessly. Thank you.